Anybody here have anything better to do?
No.
I don't. I don't. I know.
This was working.
It was, but not enough.
Yes, they can hear me.
Oh, there it goes.
Is the volume going up now?
Y'all can hear me.
Can you hear? In the middle? In the back?
Anybody in the back?
Thumbs up in the back.
Okay, thumbs up.
Okay,
Good.
All right.
Well, today, I asked people to speak because I know that for what the Bible tells me that our time is short, even more than most people, possibly. But I want to talk a little bit first about, he talked about the conversion of St. Paul. He wasn't a saint at the time. You know, he had to be blinded, literally blinded, to listen to what Jesus wanted him to do. Jesus, God, had a special job for him. We all have one. Now, if you're not listening and you haven't converted, you can't do his job. But he had the most unique experience. It's very famous. Most people have heard about it. Called the Road to Damascus, whatever you want to call it. And everyone has a conversion experience. I have one. Most everybody I know that are saying they're believers, they've had them. They may not have been blinded. Fortunately, I was not blinded. I was a young child, and I realized I needed Jesus. My parents took me to church. We had to learn Scripture, Psalm 23, John 3:16, the Lord's Prayer. Those were things we had to memorize. And the Bible even says, train up a child the way they should go, and they will not depart from it. And that is why parents must take their children to church, to learn first, and then they make their decision. Though getting to know Christ varies with each person must have their own conversion experience. And if you read these scriptures, it talks about St. Paul never forgot his experience. He went all over the known world at that time as a missionary. So he went from being probably fairly wealthy to probably not being wealthy at all, so that he could spread his realization of what he needed to be doing. He was meant to go to the Gentiles, and that's what we are, most of us are, to tell about the gospel, which means the good news. So that's where my story will be. About 12 months ago, it's a little hard to talk about, but I found out that I had pancreatic cancer. The doctor came in and said, we did a CAT scan, and you have pancreatic cancer, a tumor. And I looked at him and I said, you have the wrong CAT scan. That's not right. I work out. I eat right. No, that can't be right. And they smiled, Yes, Miss Corby, it's true. So Joe and I have traveled and dealt with this problem for 12 months. And really there have been a lot of miracles because they discovered it early, and I had surgery to stop the blockage. And then Father Michael was helping me throughout the year. And then lo and behold, I had a car wreck. Well, I was fine. The car was not. Then they were planning on having surgery for what's called Whipple surgery. And I said, what is that? And they said, well, this is the only thing left you can do besides chemo. And chemo will help the tumor slow down, but it can't get rid of it. And so we planned for that. But I said, well, first I have to go to Hawaii. And they said, okay, go ahead and go. Well, we were over in Maui, and then the little town near where we were burned to the ground. And we said, well, I have to get back for surgery. And of course, there were no flights for a couple of days. We didn't even know that the town had burned down because all communication, including cell phones, shut down. So Joe and I knew nothing. And he goes, well, at least we could go play golf. And I said, well, things seemed a little strange today. So we go over up the mountain away from the little town, and people were everywhere. And I said, this doesn't seem right. And he goes, it must be a festival. And I said, well, yeah, but they're parked on the side of the road. So we go in and we find out, what happened. And so we go back, and Joe said, I don't have enough gas to get to the airport. And so we're trying to figure out that, and the resort keeps telling us we're running out of food. Well, Myra doesn't run out of food. She keeps peanut butter and jelly in the condo so that I will have something to eat. And emergency, when you're raised with a family of 6 children, you're going to have some emergency food. And so they said, well, you can fed us 1 meal a day. We still didn't know what was happening. And so I said, well, if I can't get back, it's God's will that I don't have to go to surgery. And so we did get back and had to spend the night at the airport and caught a flight. They were bringing flights in empty to take people out. And so we got back, and I met with Father Michael, and he said, well, you escaped the wreck, you escaped the fire, now you will escape the cancer. I said, okay, so we go get the surgery. Well, they couldn't do it. They went in and they said, no, there's too much other things happening. We can't do the Whipple surgery. Even though I did, qualify initially, you have to qualify. So when I got back to see Father Michael, he goes, I didn't mean that kind of escape. But that was okay. I said, well, so I continued with chemo. And of course, it just made me sicker and sicker. And finally, Joe and I decided that was enough. So here we are today. I still go to my yoga classes. I still go to my workout classes. And I feel better than I have felt in months. So, God knows what we need. But I wanted to really, the main reason, I wasn't really planning on giving you all that detail, but the main reason I wanted to talk to everyone is let them know how grateful that we are to this congregation and to friends for everything y'all have done for us. We got meals and cards, and somebody bring me some Kleenex, okay? And well wishes and prayers. And this is clean. I don't wear that anymore. But an overflowing of generosity from everyone. Even though I'm not from Shreveport, and you know how it is when you're not from Shreveport. You're never really in. And if you didn't go to Bird, I'm sorry, I did not go to Bird. Now Joe did, so I get an out of jail card free. When we first moved back to Shreveport in 2006, we had been in Houston 17 years, and we couldn't think of anywhere to live except Shreveport. We lived here before, and I had been through so many hurricanes. I didn't want to live on the coast at all. So get me away from any ocean. I'll go visit, but I don't want to live there. And so we said, well, we can go to Shreveport. And so we did. And he went to a thing with some men that were the police and lawyers, or one of his friends. And he said, they weren't friendly until he said he went to Bird. And I said, really? They go, yeah. And they go, welcome back. We've been in Texas all those years. And I like Texas. Texas is a great place. I don't care if the traffic in Houston, but, that's just what you have to do. But about gratitude, Paul, he wrote so many letters to other cities about his experience. And those were called circular letters, like the book Galatians and Ephesians, and all the letters he wrote to Timothy, 1st and 2nd Timothy, to Thessalonians. wrote so many letters to encourage them, and he mentioned gratitude quite a bit, because he said in first, it's in Thessalonians, that in all things give thanks, pray continually, but all things give thanks. And so years ago, I thought about that scripture, and it brought that back to mind today, because when it says all things give thanks, I was never really taught to thank him for bad things. And here's an example of that situation. Back in World War II, a woman by the name of Corrie had a family in the Netherlands, Holland, and she and her family hid the Jews and other mistreated people from the Germans in their home. And their home had secret compartments, so they could make secret compartments out of them. And so they hid people. Well, of course, eventually they got caught. And then the whole family was split up and taken to prison, the concentration camps. Corrie and her sister were together. And they were in one of the barracks, women's barracks, and there was this awful infestation of fleas. And I think some of you could probably relate to, maybe a pet getting flea or something like that. But the whole living area, their living quarters, was infested with fleas. And so her sister, who you don't hear much about, named Betsy, and she said, "We have to give thanks for the fleas." And Corrie, who is the one that's known because she's written the book, "I'm not going to give thanks for these fleas." And her sister, "Yeah, you have to." So they did, and they gave thanks that day, every day. And lo and behold, the Germans, the guards, would not come into their building because of the fleas were so bad. So they got a little break from that. So God uses bad things that happen to give you blessings. So they considered it a blessing. And if you have not read her book, it's actually easy to read, but it tells you their experience and how they trusted God, and that's what we need to do. We have to trust God with everything we go through, everything we do. And I find here's this. So my point is, gratitude is a thing that happens when we appreciate everything that happens. I appreciate every gift, every card, everything that anyone has done, even those that don't really know me. And I forgot to tell you my name, but it's all over everything. Myra Corby. So I do try to practice a gratitude list. And so I have a little book, and this is the Give Thanks book. And I do it first. Before I start thinking about the problems, before I start thinking about the day. Now you might be a night person, so you could do it at night. I'm a morning person. I wake up early, and I have to have my quiet time, and that's the quiet time. So you can use anything, any tool. In this day and age, there's so many avenues, so many ways. We're really more fortunate than St. Paul, because they had to write on parchment or sheepskins, animal skins, and they had to share their letters and their notes with each other. They didn't just have a place where you could go buy paper, and not even everyone could read, so they would have to read the letters to their congregation, and that's what they would have to do. But we don't have to do that. We have the whole Bible. He did not have the whole Bible. Of course, he wrote a lot of it, but he did not have what we have. He had the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, that he studied. He knew Scripture, as Father Michael mentioned, with the children very well. But he had head knowledge. And Jesus